All right, welcome back to Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. Today's video is going to be the final update on the AMT 2021 Dodge Charger RT, and it's going to be all about the body. Going to be the wet sanding, the polishing, doing the stripes, the glass, and the front and rear bumper pieces, how I detailed those. Back to the stripes, I had a problem with the decals. I don't know what the deal was. My microset and microsolid, they just didn't want to conform to the body contours of the bumpers or anything. Don't know what the deal was. I used a lot of it and it just didn't conform. So I ended up taking them off and taping off and painting the stripes on. So I'll do a quick walkthrough on how I did that. But anyways, on with the show. Okay, so we're going to start with the glass here, and like it shows in the directions and on here for the window templates, I cut them out and I taped them, centered them as good as I could, and I taped them to the inside of the glass, the front and the back. And what I'm going to do though, I cut little thin strips of my Tamiya tape here. I put it on my cutting board here and just cut some thin strips. And that's what I have right there. I'm not going to outline it like it says. I am just going to go ahead and paint. My Apple Barrel Matte Black, it'll be gloss like it's supposed to when you look at it from the outside. But it's going to be flat on the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint. I'm not going to outline it. I'm just going to go ahead and paint around the template there, and then I'm going to tape the tape off, and then I'm going to paint where the tape is. I figure it's pretty easy to paint over those little strips there to touch them up. So that's how I'm going to do it. Like I said, I'm not going to outline it. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that like that and paint all around very carefully. So I went ahead and painted the insides of the glass in my Apple Barrel Black. Then I peeled off the masks here, and I just touched up the little 4 spots where the tape was. Flip them over and you can see how they look. Really good, really happy. Next step I'm going to do is I got to paint where the third brake light goes. So I cut out this little piece here, and what I will do is I will tape it in to the rear window how it goes, and then I'm going to use the rear brake light decal on the decal sheet, apply it, and then I'm going to remove this, tape off, and paint the dark gray where that's supposed to be. Okay, you'll see it in just a second. Moving into the back windshield, I did get the decal on. You can see I'll flip it over. See the third brake light. You'll see it better when it's on the car, I'm sure, but there it is. Okay, then I ran my tape across the bottom there and painted my dark gray. I used pavement, that color. And now it is time to peel off the tape and see what we have. Just take the tape and carefully peel it. Across the back, and there it is. That's from the inside. Now you view it from the outside. Looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with that. So that is the glass portion of things until installation. This up here is not going to be seen because that's going to go inside the body. But there we are. That's simple. All right, now on to some of the body pieces. Okay, so on to the body parts, the body panels, the front and rear. What I've done, I painted them and cleared them. Everything, the hood, the front, the back, and the whole body. Then on the bumper, this little piece of the bumper here is actually like a matte blackish on the cars, the real cars. So I just taped it off, masked it off with, I use Tamiya tape for curves. It's a real thin tape here. And I just burnished it down around there. And then I used other Tamiya tape and masking tape to finish masking things off. Getting to the main body, after paint, before clear, I highly suggest masking off the trim here, the door trim, and painting it black. I didn't do that. I painted the car, then I cleared it, and I decided to go ahead and wet sand and polish it before I masked it to paint this. Because next is the wax. I didn't want to wax it and then try to paint over. If any wax got on any of this, then it wouldn't really stick. So that's what I did. I went ahead and wet sanded and polished it, and then I masked everything off, taped off the rest of the car, and I just used Steiner Res Black primer. Just use the Steiner Res Black. It sprays on nice and smooth, and then I used some Createx Satin Clear. Sprayed a couple coats of Createx Satin Clear over it. So that's all I did, and I will untape and unmask everything and see what it looks like, and I'll show you the wet sanding and polishing in just a second. Okay, so here's the body with all the trim painted black. It has been wet sanded, polished, and waxed. I wet sand it with micro mesh polishing pads. I use, for the Createx, I don't get too aggressive. I rarely get into the 4,000 grit. Usually it's the 6,000, 8,000, and 12,000. I just use little squares that I cut off. So 6,000, 8,000, and 12,000. Very lightly, very gently. You got to make sure it's wet, but you can't oversaturate it. You do small parts at a time. The hood I did in 3 sections. I did this side, then I did the middle, and then I did the other side. Because if you let water pool up on this Createx, even though it's mostly cured, it will get in and it'll mess up when you wet sand over it, a soft spot. It will create a soft spot. Okay, it's not a lacquer base. It takes probably a month, a good month, to really fully harden to where you don't have to worry about that. And I don't know too many people that'll wait a month to wet sand and polish their cars. So, but I go 5 to 7 days, usually 7 days. Play it safe, don't mess around, and it's good to wet sand. Like this one, I did the front fender, then I did a door, then I did the other door, and then I did the rear quarter, and then up here. Then the trunk. The roof I broke into 4 sections when I did it, and the same on the other side. So that's all set, that's all done. Here is the rear end with the bumper there, and that's how it sits at the moment. And the front end, I'm going to get the headliner area painted and paint in here, get that in black, and under the hood here, you get that in black. And up next, I'm going to put on the decals. So stay tuned for that in just a second. Going to the decals, the first thing I've done is this goes in with the pins and the holes. It's a pretty tight fit, so I just snugged it in there. I got the hood taped on, and I got the rear bumper piece taped on, so I can line everything up. I can line up all the decals for all the stripes. I want them all lined up right, so that's how I'm doing that. For this particular build, taping everything down. Okay, so to the decals we go. They did not conform very well for me around the bumper areas, around in here. They did not want to conform at all for me. They just wouldn't lay down, and they didn't stick too well either. Not really sure why. They just seemed a little stiff and maybe a little thick for brand new decal set, you know what I mean? So as I was putting them on, as I was dealing with that, I just got to thinking, you know what, it might be just as easy or easier to tape these things off and paint them on. So I did some measuring, and it just so happened that the middles in between the stripes is about perfectly 2 millimeters, the size of my tape for curves here. So I just ran that up the middle like so. No scientific method to find the center point, just eyeballed it, and then I measured it once I eyeballed it, and a couple tries, and I got it to where I wanted it. Okay, the second part is this, my Tamiya tape here, my masking tape, is also 10 millimeters, as is the width of the stripe. The width of the stripe is 10 millimeters. So I lucked out big time on that. Just lucked out big time. I had done this 2 millimeter center stripe, center split, I guess you could call it, and 10 millimeter stripes like 3 or 4 times now on different vehicles, different kits. So no different than this one. So I lucked out there, was able to do that. And I got everything taped off, as you can see, ready to be painted. And we'll get the body up here. I'll tilt the camera. The body, I left the back bumper on. A little bit easier to do it because of how I taped it, but a little difficult getting in here and making sure it's straight. It might not be perfectly straight in there, but I think it's close enough and good enough for me. Well, we'll see when I get the paint on, and then I'm going to clear it, and then we'll see the results when I untape everything again. We'll see how I did here, guys. I hope and think pretty good, but we'll see. And the stripes are on and cleared. Yeah, there's a little bit of ridge there that you can feel, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm not going to try to sand it down because I don't want to ruin anything more than I already have. But pretty happy with it. Once again, I used 2 millimeter Tamiya tape for curves for the center, to tape off the center. And the stripes are 10 millimeters wide that I used with my other Tamiya tape. I laid down the center, and then I put down some tape, and then I put some tape on the other side of that, peeled that up, and that was my stripe. I do have a tutorial on this that I did a few months ago last year. If you want to look that up, maybe I'll link that in the description, but pretty happy. Pretty happy. I've got a few pieces of touch-up to do. Just a couple little bits of touch-up. But other than that, I'm extremely happy with it. It's not perfect, but I'm extremely happy with it. because the decals just wouldn't lay down for me. So this is the next alternative. I should have, could have, if I'd have known that. After I painted it, I could have put the stripes on, then cleared everything. That would have melded everything together, and there would have been hardly any kind of a ridge in there at all. But I didn't know the decals weren't gonna cooperate. So, and there we go here. Like I said, a couple pieces of touch up, a little bit right there. Just a piece. And a couple little bits right there where all these contours and stuff are. Very hard to get tape to lay down in those. But again, very, very happy with how it turned out. Very, very happy. Up next, I will do the tail lights and the headlights and get all that stuff situated. I'll show you that in a second. And we have the front and back end all done. I did paint, this is a chrome piece inside underneath the glass here. I did paint that black surrounding everything. I left a little bit of the chrome right there. And then I put on the clear piece. Everything pops in to these little holes. The pins go into the little holes, and I just dab a little, to me, extra thin into there to secure them. Same thing with the honeycomb piece here, the grill, and the bottom piece. All goes in these little holes. And these little pieces down here, little black piece I painted black, and then the little clear dot that goes in there for the light. I got a couple little pieces of touch up to do at the very end, but there's the front. And now to the rear. Once again, there's a chrome piece that you put in, and then you have the red clear piece that all pushes in. Once again, glues into these little holes. Same with the license plate frame. You can see the holes for it. And then you just pop on the license plate. I don't do it as a decal. I just cut it out, paper and all, and just use a marker to color around the edges there. I still have to put the marker lights on, the decals for the marker lights. I don't know if I'm going to do the decals or if I'm actually going to paint the marker lights. I think I'm actually going to paint the marker lights. I've not been having good luck with the decals on this kit. I don't understand it. I'm using my micro set and micro saw, which has been absolutely wonderful for me for just about everything, but I'm having a hard time with the decals on this kit. That's why I had to paint the stripes on, because the decals just wouldn't conform. And even these on the clear piece here, I had a hard time with them. Really had to work with them to get them to stay down. But the tail lights, this stuff is a decal that goes over the clear piece. Then you have that, and of course the charger RT that you can barely see on that panel there next to the stripe. Got a little bit of mess up right there on the back, but I'm not worried about it. So that is the front and back end. Once again, a little bit of touch up. It'll be all done. I'm going to put the body to the chassis and interior, put everything on, and hopefully in the next couple of days we'll have the reveal video. But that's for now. Thanks for watching Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I'll see you next time.